what your process is, what we're doing. In the second quadrant, when you're moving into number 2 with coaching, this is where you're still giving high direction and high support. You're still there supporting that person. You might be a guide on the side, you might be checking in on them, but you're still there. Once you're moving into the supporting quadrant, you notice that you're still high support, but you're low direction, because by this point, that person will have gained experience, knowledge, expertise with you there supporting. And then from the third quadrant, you move into the fourth quadrant where you delegate. That person's had enough time of training, you've supported them, they are well on their way, they're more than capable, they go. So, do you understand this? Mm-hmm. Now let's apply what we just learned to this quadrant. If we looked at directing, what kind of leadership is that? Authoritative. Do this, do that. When we move into the second quadrant, what kind of leadership is that? Democratic. Do we have consensus? You're kind of moving right into that democratic. You're going from authoritative into democratic because you have to show them, tell them, let them do it, right? Moving into supporting, what kind of leadership is that? Highly democratic. Very democratic, because now that person has experience and can give you their feedback or their view. And then you move into delegating, and what's leadership that? What leadership style is that? Laissez-faire, because you're saying, you got this. I've given you all the tools. I'm still here. I'm still here. I don't need to be micromanaging you though, like you would be in quadrant 2. Coaching.
So are you saying that one is better than the other, or are you saying that we have to go through each of those leadership styles to get to the final one?
You just answered your own question. So it's situational, right? Not every situation is approached the same way. To be quite frank, my leadership style is different than I am at home, than I am here in a classroom, than I am out on the field. It has to be different. Because I'm the bad guy. I got to be authoritative, otherwise my name is marked, right? If I give them what they want, oh my God, what's wrong with her? So I have to be consistent with everything too. But I need to be mindful in my approach. So hear me out. If I'm in the directing role, and I have a 35-year-old generation person, and they would be in the 4th or 3rd quadrant. Would you agree? Okay, do you understand? Mm-hmm. Do I go into that leadership and direct them? There's no way. I need to make sure that I either move into that place or I bring them to where I am at to make sure that leadership happens. See? So my approach has to be different. And that's why every situation has to be different. I'm not going to come into your place of work and say, what do you do, by the way? Your teacher, whatever. Let's just say you clean windows. I'm not going to come into your place of work and say, yeah, no, I don't think you need to clean windows like that. I would do it this way. You're going to be like, who are you? And get out of my window place. Right? So I need to approach it different to say, tell me what you do. How do you do it? Why do you do it this way? Help me understand so I can better give you some feedback. And a lot of times, it's exactly that. I approach my people to say, how would you like me to communicate with you? And that could be translated into many different things. First of all, I'm not an email kind of person. I want to pick up the phone and hear your voice. That's how I am. That's how I connect with people. If I have to sit there for 10 minutes to write an email, I'm worried about grammar, I'm worried about, using the right terminology. I'm thinking in Italian and in French and in Spanish and in English. I'll just pick up the phone and say, hey, in Italian, what's going on? How you doing? Right? So I have to understand that if that's not your method, that you're a texter, oh God.
It's my method.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. I hate texting.
Okay, but if you are, like my daughter, she's standing right next to me. You know that. You know how frustrated that frustrates me? And I'm like, Sophia, just be faster to just tell her. But no, I'll get resistance. And it doesn't work. So I have to change my way to accommodate. So I hope you understand using my analogies, that's my life, day in a life. But can you apply this? Can you understand why leadership is situational? And can you understand, based on what we just talked about, is what's your approach? How are you approaching it now that you know what you know? And be mindful, too, that your natural fallback is going to be, so are you authoritative? Are you delegative, and are you laissez-faire? Because that's your natural approach, right? And if you are Miss Authoritative or Mr. Authoritative, pull back. Okay, have you checked in with yourself lately? I think after tonight you're going to be a little bit more mindful. I hope after tonight you're going to be a lot more mindful. I need you to think about, okay, this is what I set out to do every day. At the end of every day, check in. Did I achieve my purpose? Did I achieve what I wanted to achieve? Did I achieve the ROI? And while doing that, how did I behave? How effective was I? You know, evaluate. Evaluate yourself. Reflect. Did I say thank you to that person? Was I rough? I mean, and this is a constant reflection thing, right? Do you all have journals? It's the best way to capture this, right? Ask yourself those 3 questions that can drive your journal entry and say, feedback. Because at the end of tonight, I'm going to ask for your feedback. I want to know what I did great, what I didn't do great, how I can improve for the purpose of better learning. I have to be open to that feedback. I have to be vulnerable to say, you know what, you sucked. But I want to know why I sucked. What was it about the suck? Or what was good? Yeah, it was good. I know it was good. It was great. But what was it? I need to know what it was. And then go back and tweak. Go back and tweak. Nobody's perfect, right? So, I want you to be mindful of this. Managers and leaders are 2 different things. You can manage all you want, but you can be an awful leader. So, the essence of leader is stability versus change, right? Rules. The manager makes the rules and follows the rules. The leader breaks the rules. The approach. A manager's approach is in the planning, task A, B, C. The leader sets the direction. We sail. How do we sail? I don't know. That way. You figure it out. A leader is big vision, right? Blue sky thinking. Manager is bringing down all those details. Culture. A manager executes on what the leader shapes. Right? A leader shapes a culture. Conflict. Managers avoid conflict. Customer service, give them what they want because otherwise they're going to get that. Leadership embraces it. What can we do better? It's a difference. When you look at, where am I? Direction. A manager uses existing roads. Leader creates roads. Creates the roads. It's that saying of, I can't remember. Anyways, it'll come to me. A manager takes credit. Leader gives credit. Manager makes decisions. Leader facilitates new ideas. Right? A manager tells people what their vision is. The leader sells it to them. And by selling, I mean influences, right? Marketing and sales are 2 different things. Sales is selling an item or a product or a service. Marketing is sales is saying you need this. Now, boom, boom, boom. Marketing is different where it's selling you that experience. Let's go to the Bahamas for $10 million. You can use your credit card, right? A manager is transactional. That's the style. Whereas a leader is transformational. You need to be able to transform your people. The influence you have transforms your people. So I was supposed to show you a video, but I can't get on here. I'm sorry, Mom, but I can't turn this down.
How many of you are completely comfortable with calling yourselves a leader? See, I've asked that question all the way across the country, and everywhere I ask it, no matter where, there's always a huge portion of the audience that won't put up their hand. And I've come to realize that we have made leadership into something bigger than us. We made it into something beyond us. We made it about changing the world. And we've taken this title of leader and we treat it as if it's something that one day we're going to deserve. But to give it to ourselves right now means a level of arrogance or cockiness that we're not comfortable with. And I worry sometimes that we spend so much time celebrating amazing things that hardly anybody can do, that we've convinced ourselves that those are the only things we're celebrating. And we start to devalue the things that we can do every day. And we start to take moments where we truly are a leader, and we don't let ourselves take credit for it, and we don't let ourselves feel good about it. And I've been lucky enough over the last 10 years to work with some amazing people who have helped me redefine leadership in a way that I think has made me happier. And with my short time today, I just want to share with you the one story that is probably most responsible for that redefinition. I went to a school in a little school called Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. And on my last day there, a girl came up to me and she said, "I remember the first time that I met you." And then she told me a story that happened 4 years earlier. She said, "On my day before I started university, I was in the hotel room with my mom and my dad, and I was so scared and so convinced that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't ready for university, that I just burst into tears. And my mom and my dad were amazing. They were like, 'Look, we know you're scared, but let's just go tomorrow. Let's go to the first day, and if at any point you feel as if you can't do this, that's fine. Just tell us and we'll take you home. We love you no matter what.'" And she said, so I went the next day and I was standing in line getting ready for registration, and I looked around and I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't ready. I knew I had to quit. And she said, I made that decision, and as soon as I made it, there was this incredible feeling of peace that came over me. And I turned to my mom and my dad to tell them that we needed to go home. And just at that moment, you came out of the Student Union building wearing the stupidest hat I've ever seen in my life. It was awesome. And you had a big sign promoting Shine Around, which is Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis, a charity I've worked with for years. And you had a bucket full of lollipops. And you were walking along and you were handing the lollipops out to people in line and talking about Shine Around. And all of a sudden, you got to me and you just stopped and you stared. It was creepy. This girl right here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then you looked at the guy next to me and you smiled and you reached in your bucket, you pulled out a lollipop and you held it out to him. And you said, "You need to give a lollipop to the beautiful woman standing next to you." And she said, "I have never seen anyone get more embarrassed faster in my life." He turned beet red. He wouldn't even look at me. He just kind of held the lollipop out like this. And I felt so bad for this dude that I took the lollipop. And as soon as I did, you got this incredibly severe look on your face, and you looked at my mom and my dad and you said, "Look at that. Look at that. First day away from home, and already she's taking candy from a stranger." And she said everybody lost it. 20 feet in every direction, everyone started to howl. And I know this is cheesy, and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but in that moment when everyone was laughing, I knew that I shouldn't quit. I knew that I was where I was supposed to be, and I knew that I was home. And I haven't spoken to you once in the 4 years since that day, but I heard that you were leaving. And I had to come up and tell you that you've been an incredibly important person in my life, and I'm gonna miss you. Good luck. And she walks away, and I'm flattened. And she gets about 6 feet away, she turns around and smiles and goes, "You should probably know this too. I'm still dating that guy 4 years later." A year and a half after I moved to Toronto, I got an invitation to their wedding. Here's the kicker, I don't remember that. I have no recollection of that moment, and I searched my memory banks because that is funny, and I should remember doing it, and I don't remember it. And that was such an eye-opening, transformative moment for me to think that maybe the biggest impact I'd ever had on anyone's life, a moment that had a woman walk up to a stranger 4 years later and say, "You've been an incredibly important person in my life," was a moment that I didn't even remember. How many of you guys have a lollipop moment? A moment where someone said something or did something that you feel fundamentally made your life better? All right. How many of you have told that person they did it? See, why not? We celebrate birthdays where all you have to do is not die for 365 days. And yet we let people who have made our lives better walk around without knowing it. And every single one of you has been the catalyst for a lollipop moment. You have made someone's life better by something that you said or that you did. And if you think you have it, think about all the hands that didn't go back up when I asked that question. You're just one of the people who hasn't been told. But it is so scary to think of ourselves as that powerful. It can be frightening to think that we can matter that much to other people. Because as long as we make leadership something bigger than us, as long as we keep leadership something beyond us, as long as we make it about changing the world, we give ourselves an excuse not to expect it every day from ourselves and from each other. Marianne Williamson said, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that frightens us. And my call to action today is that we need to get over that. We need to get over our fear of how extraordinarily powerful we can be in each other's lives. We need to get over it so we can move beyond it. And our little brothers and our little sisters, and one day our kids, or our kids right now, can watch us start to value the impact we can have on each other's lives more than money and power and titles and influence. We need to redefine leadership as being about lollipop moments. How many of them we create, how many of them we acknowledge, how many of them we pay forward, and how many of them we say thank you for. Because we made leadership about changing the world, and there is no world. There's only 6 billion understandings of it. And if you change one person's understanding of it, one person's understanding of what they're capable of, one person's understanding of how much people care about them, one person's understanding of how powerful and agent for change they can be in this world, you change the whole thing. And if we can understand leadership like that, I think if we can redefine leadership like that, I think we can change everything. And it's a simple idea, but I don't think it's a small one. And I want to thank you all so much for letting me share it with you today.
So I don't have lollipops, okay? But if I did have lollipops, I would give each and every one of you a lollipop. So go back to your people that influenced you and tell them. Okay? Tell them. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge the people that are making the difference in your life, or that you're making in their life.
We are just giving tribute to the priest and the last part.
That's
Back home in the Philippines.
That's brilliant. And you know, you are all leaders. You're natural leaders. You just need to tap into that leadership. You all have greatness within you. And hopefully, after tonight, I just made you more aware. So thank you so much for your attention. And I was thrilled to be here. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to hear back from you. Otherwise, best of luck. Keep me posted with your leadership. Thank you very much.
Do the politicians have a leadership